Welcome to Metaverse Adventures. My name is Immersive Matthew. Today is September 20th, and this is your Oculus Quest sales report. If you're looking for new game announcements, new games in the store, sideload apps, community news, co-location updates, all that stuff I normally cover off in my Oculus Quest Week in Review series, it's being broken up into individual videos just like this one. So go ahead and look at my channel for the other videos coming out soon. And if you're looking for Oculus Quest sales report, this is the video for you. We're going to get into some data, and we're going to talk about how is the Oculus Quest doing in the market against its competitors. Let's go check out the data and see what it tells us. All right, so as always, we're going to take a look at Google Trends data. Google Trends, if you don't know, is a way that we can go and find out what people are searching for. And here I've got a screen loaded up for us where we're going to look at the Oculus Quest, the Valve Index, the Oculus Rift S, and PSVR as search terms worldwide from all the way back that late April, just before the announcement of the Quest, all the way up to today. And this data, by the way, does lag 2 days behind from where we are now. And you can see here that there's a pretty consistent trend over the last little while. Of course, way back on May 21st when it came out, we had our all-time high in terms of people searching for the Oculus Quest. And it kind of went down, but it never ever went as low as all the other HMDs. As you can see here, it's definitely above the rest. But the trend has been a little bit lower over the last month over here. And I suspect that this is due to school. It's not really the time of year that people are running out and buying video games and virtual reality and anything like that. This is really the time to knuckle down, get into school, get settled. We'll see this pick up again as we get into October, certainly as we get into November and Black Friday and into the holiday season. And I'm really looking forward to seeing where it's going to go. But that's where we're at this week, so not a lot to report there. Things are kind of humming along somewhat consistently. When we look at adding in the Vive Cosmos, and I thought this would be a good point to review again this week, we see that things for them are interesting. It had its little bump here when it got announced this past week, but it's gone back down again. And similarly to how when the Quest got announced, it also had a little bit of a drop after. And so I suspect that when the Vive Cosmos does come out, we'll see it go back up again. Where will it go? Well, if you look at the comparison before Oculus Quest's announcement to where the Vive Cosmos announcement is, that's a pretty big difference in data. And if you look at the online reviews of those who've had the opportunity to play with it hands-on, like over at Tested, it's not looking so good. And maybe this is going to struggle because I don't really understand where in the market the Vive Cosmos fits exactly, and specifically its price point. But I like to see it succeed. I would love to see more HMDs in the market who are pushing the envelope. And I am really curious about the whole untethered piece that they had talked about way back last year with Vive Cosmos, and now it's not being talked about really at all. So if you have any news on that or any good tips, go ahead and let me know in the comments. And let me know what you think about the Vive Cosmos. Are you getting one? Do you think it's going to be a serious contender to maybe the Rift S or the Valve Index? I'm not so sure, but I'd love to hear your comments. And I also just for a bit of fun, I wanted to compare the Oculus Quest to the Nintendo Switch Lite. Now, I reported on this a few weeks back, maybe even a month ago. I think it was back in, June 10th when we had, July 10th, when we had the all-time high for the Switch Lite, and that's when it originally got announced. And as you recall, I was so surprised that it dropped so low that, in fact, on many occasions, it was lower than the actual Quest. And I was surprised by that. I thought that the Switch would have had a little more clout. That's the Switch Lite. The actual Nintendo Switch is always being significantly higher. But what's interesting that as we've gotten closer and closer to its launch, you can see that it's gone up quite a bit. And if we compare the numbers here, Oculus Quest is sitting at a 4, relatively speaking, and the Switch Lite is hitting a 13. So definitely gives you some perspective of where VR is compared to mainstream console. We have some room to grow still. And I don't know when we're going to see these things start to get at parity and VR maybe even overtaking. Who knows? But it's an interesting journey, and I'm going to be watching this very closely for the rest of this year, for certainly, and into the future. I love this data. It's very telling. All right, so I also like to cover off the Amazon Top 100 chart. And as you know, the Oculus Quest 64 gigabyte model and 128 have been off and on this list over the last few months. And particularly, they were off throughout most of the summer due to supply issues. There's hardly any Quests out there, and if you could get your hands on one, you're looking at weeks to like a month for a lot of people to get it. Well, it is shipping now very consistently. We'll talk about that in just a moment. However, the 128 gigabyte model, again this week, is not on this list. And supply, I think, is there. So I think the demand is down a little bit. And the data shows that. We just saw that it has softened in September. However, as you can see here, the 64 gigabyte model is sitting at spot number 54. So still in the top 100. And, if you look at the other items in this list, it's pretty interesting this week because we got a heck of a lot of Nintendo. And in fact, the number 2 item is Zelda's Link Awakening. And I must admit, this is a game that I'm actually considering getting. But at the same time, when I play Moss, and for those of you who haven't played Moss, excellent game on the Quest. When you play Moss, you really think about this game, about how awesome it would be if this game was in the Quest. And it's not going to happen unless someone comes up with a really awesome hack. But I can see why it's number 2. It looks like a pretty awesome game. And I think this is the kind of stuff that I hope one day we'll see on the Quest. If not Zelda, some other similar franchise with the same sort of scope, polish, and impact on pop culture. And we look over at shipping, we can see here that the 64 gigabyte model is shipping out on the 25th, or you'll get it on the 25th. And the 120 gigabyte model is the same. So just a few days to get it. I don't see any options here to get it faster. Now, it's coming to me here in Canada, so maybe where you are locally, you might see something different. But it's in stock, and it's shipping pretty much right away. So Amazon is a great place to get it. Of course, Oculus.com is also always a great place to get it. I also looked over at Best Buy, and Best Buy was the same dates. I looked at Newegg. It was around the same dates. Like I said, Oculus was the same dates. I had it open here. I'm going to pull it up for us here live. We can go and see it. We'll shop now for that item. We'll buy them. We'll buy both because we're curious. And you can see here that usually ships in 2 business days. So it's the same thing sort of everywhere right now. And so what this is telling me is that supply really is caught up to demand. We no longer have all those shipping issues that we had. So if you're looking to get an Oculus Quest, you shouldn't have any problems getting it. You might even be able to walk into a brick and mortar store and pick it up right there on the spot. What I am seeing, though, is that the sales are still fairly strong, and it does seem to be matching the Google Trends data that we were looking at earlier. This little softening that we saw over here does seem to be reflected in the sales data. And what's interesting, that I think if supply was able to keep up with demand, we probably would have seen the Oculus Quest on that top 100 chart on Amazon probably all summer long. Maybe the 128 could have popped off and on. But I think the 64 would be hit consistently. And I suspect we'll see both items in the top 20 as we get towards Christmas. That's my prediction. Who knows where it's going to end up? It's a fun time to be in VR. And if you're an Oculus Quest fan or a wannabe fan, well, welcome. This is going to be a very interesting few years with this device. All right, that is all I want to cover in this really quick episode. Look for my other segments, my new games, sideload, upcoming game announcements, all sorts of cool news around co-location. And I now have given myself time in this new format to give you game reviews. And one of my areas I'm going to specialize in, I think, is going to be sideload, because there's a few titles in there that people really are not talking enough about. So that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Hope you like this new format, and I will see you very soon with my next show. Talk to you soon.